stop it on. So I'll highlight again, hands there, hands down by her side, arms crossed, you know, very submissive. Look, arms crossed, arms crossed. Here's the man, okay, with the strong body language, very wide arms with the tone. You know, his biceps certainly help, triceps certainly help too. A lot of guys don't train biceps enough, but it keeps this away from the body. We can see the pec definition here, that wide cast figure, the thick neck and the traps, okay, gives him a massively wide figure. Hello guys, and welcome back to another body language analysis video. I think a lot of you will be happy about this one. The amount of likes for Ragnar Lothbrok from Vikings was through the roof, so I'm going to do the analysis of him. It's probably on par with Tyler Durden, which I will do soon, I promise. It's just a lot more difficult because the clips aren't really showing much body language. It's more about his tonality and the words he's saying. Now, two disclaimers before we start. This guy is very aggressive. Most of these videos that I do, they're just breakdowns. It started off with James Bond because I thought his body language was immaculate for a modern era man, and I thought that it could be translated into your own lives. Now, as this has evolved, it's turned more into an entertainment purpose where, you know, we're looking at a guy here who's not in the era that we're in now, okay? So I'm doing it for entertainment purposes, videos like these where there will be similarities that you can take into your own life, but don't take it as gospel truth, okay? So if he's jumping in someone's face and screaming, I'm not saying you should go out on the street and do this to become an alpha male. This is how a lot of people are perceiving it in the comments, which I don't blame them. You know, it's the internet. A lot of things can get lost in translation, but take what you can from it, okay? Be logical. Now, the second thing is a few people say that these guys are just acting. Well, yeah, they are, but actors are trained, okay? They're trained in body language, tonality, etc. So when they are acting in these series, etc., what they're trying to do is give off the best impression of a certain emotional scenario. So yes, their body language is acting, but the reason they're making certain shapes, certain angles, they're putting their arms wide, they're saying certain words, they're doing certain actions, holding eye contact, is because they know it emits a certain emotion or it sets the scene better. It's better acting because it's truer to life. Okay, so we've cleared those things up. Let's get the video going. So the first thing that I want to bring out here, guys, is this isn't necessarily body language, but it's something that I taught you guys a few years ago, is size, okay? Just general size of the person doing the body language. Now, you can be a skinny, small guy with good body language, and it will give off a good impression. But we've all seen those guys like Tom Hardy. Now, come on, guys. Tom Hardy's only 5'9", and that's Hollywood listing him as 5'9", so he's probably shorter, okay? He's probably something like 5'8". This is what they do. It's kind of the WWE thing where they add an inch or two of height. But just having wide shoulders and good posture where your muscle tone is good and your body stands in the right kind of structure, this makes your body language look better even when you're not particularly doing anything. You know, we see here, Ragnar's just stood still. There's nothing particularly impressive about this. I cannot actually see his hands, his arms, his legs, etc. All I can see is his shoulders and his kind of neck posture here and his chest width. And I already know that this guy has good body language just because he's stocky. He has good posture. You know, you don't have to be necessarily a big guy, but good muscle tone. It makes such a difference. And you'll see this throughout this entire clip. Okay, so we'll see a few times here. Let's just take this back slightly. The way he looks straight forward when he walks. Watch this. The pace at which he walks and the way he looks straight forward. Now, he looks to the side occasionally, which we'll explain in a minute, but just as an initial preview, watch this. So what we've got here, this is a perfect way to walk, okay? The blue eyes really help, let's be honest. It makes it look intense. But He's looking straight forward. This also almost looks like laser beams now with the blue eyes. But he's looking straight forward. I know he's got a beard, but we can clearly see that the chin is elevated up. You know, his head is straight forward. It's at a level kind of plane. We've got the wide shoulders, which is good body language, but it's definitely from being in the gym. You know, it's a very good posture. And the pace at which he's moving at brings it all together. Now, this is something that you can incorporate into your own life, okay, in this modern era. So many people will walk down a street. I was living in London for a long time. I will be going back soon, actually. And a lot of people will walk down busy streets and they'll be wondering what everybody's thinking. People are looking at them. Let's say it's Oxford Street in London. People will be swiveling their head. Who's she? What's she doing? She's hot. He's bigger than me. Oh, what was that noise? What was that? And they're looking around everywhere and seeing everybody, and they're just very aware. This guy is, you know, if we're talking about it in an animal sense, this is a predator mindset where the eyes are at the... If you look at human eyes, okay? Human eyes are here. They're on the front of the face. If they were here, one, and we can't really see, but around here, if they were on the side of the head, then we would be prey, okay? We would be like rabbits, where they've got their eyes on the side of their head. We've got our eyes right at the front, and that is because we are predators. That's the impression that we need to give out. So when people are walking along the street and they're looking left and right, it doesn't look right. What you need to be doing is looking straight forward in the direction that you're going in, and you need to move in a controlled manner, in a slower pace. So many people will be looking left and right, hurrying, rushing around, panicking about what's around them. Let's say you're rushing to work because you're late, which is understandable. I get that, right, guys? But do yourself a favor and set off early so that you can walk slower. Because when people are rushing around, you know, they're taking those quick, short steps, they're panicking, they just look stressed. It doesn't give off the best impression. Whereas Ragnar here, you can tell he is the king, he is home. The walk, we're going to see a lot more of the walk here, but just remember what I said, guys. So he looks down here, which I wouldn't have got him to do. I would have got him to look straight forward. But I think it's because he's thinking, because he's returned. You know, this is why these clips aren't perfect, but I can do my best to analyze them. But one thing I do want to say, guys, is obviously the slowness of movement. We definitely saw that here. I think when the clip was here, just behind him. Watch the slowness of movement. And remember what I said earlier about everybody's looking at you, but you're keeping your composure. You're still walking forward, looking in the intended direction. This is a very, very masculine trait. Now, the other thing that I want to point out is the way that he's stomping. Now, a big trick to this, actually, you can do this in winter very, very well, is to have on, let's say, a big jacket, some boots, some jeans, build your legs up, get in the gym, do deadlifts and squats, really build your legs and thighs up. And what you get when you walk is naturally your gait widens up, so your toes will be pointed outwards in a kind of diagonal direction, okay? We've all seen guys that walk like that, the kind of Tom Hardy stroll, the shoulder roll, and the feet are pointed out wide because the legs are so big, the thighs have to because they cannot touch together, okay? And what it gives you, especially if you're wearing something like boots, I know this sounds silly in a body language sense, but those clothes really do matter, and what you get is a stomp. So you end up stomping through, and you do literally look like an upright silverback. And guys that have this body shape, Ragnar, Tom Hardy, there's a few other people that have it, they give off such a good vibe when they're just strolling along. Can you see that, guys? The way, I know the camera is doing a close-up shot of him, but the way he's thick-set, the back really helps too, but the way he's thick-set, big neck, big back, big legs, you know, he's stomping through, he's doing it at a slow pace, he's looking straight forward. That whole congruent image works so well. The costume designers, everybody involved in this, the body language experts, the actor himself, it's fantastic. And like I said, this is just a series, this is just acting, but if you deploy these tactics in real life, so if you build up some decent muscle, you improve that walk with the more wide open gait, you take up more space when you walk, you slow it down, You know, I'm not saying you have to do this. I don't want to change the way you look, but he's got the shaved head with the beard. His whole look is congruent and it comes together. This is why it works so well. This is why he's so popular. Congruency is king when it comes to body language. He actually shows signs of craziness later on, which isn't congruent, which actually adds to the character that he is, but that is purely acting. But we'll get to that in a second. There, that little section there, this is fantastic. So I'll tell you when. So now that he's lifted his head up, his eyes up, he has around about 5 seconds here where he does the perfect body language. And when you're walking through a crowded place, this is exactly how you should be. There, just looking straight ahead, walking confidently, walking tall, chin up in the air, long, wide strides, but very slow. That's the first sign we see of his slight craziness. He's very on edge, which I think actually adds to the character. Now, the guy that said, I don't know what micro expressions are, fuck you, because I do. And that was definitely a micro expression there. The way that he slightly moved his mouth, you know, in an aggressive manner. The way that he did that is slightly uncontrollable. So a micro expression is something that we're not conscious that we're doing, and the way that he did that is brings out his crazy side. We can even see, if anybody's familiar with football or soccer, he actually has what's called the crazy vein. Now that might be a cut, I don't know, I haven't watched the series, but a few footballers and fighters have got that. It's called the crazy vein. I think it supplies more blood to the brain and makes you go a little bit more crazy. I don't know the science behind it, but look into it, guys. Now, there's moments here where he has actually looked down, okay? I think it's because he abandoned his people, okay? So he does feel a little bit ashamed from what I've gathered of the clips that I've watched. But for the majority of his walk, yeah, he's looked down occasionally. Yeah, his eyes themselves actually, like in the eyes, have actually darted right and left occasionally. But on the whole, his kind of demeanor has been facing forward. You know, where his eyes might dart right and left, but his head hasn't swiveled, it hasn't moved. He might slightly dart his eyes left, but his head will always focus forward. Same with his body. You know, he's not stopping for anybody, he's not turning, he has a purpose. There's nothing wrong with darting your eyes slightly to the right and left to look at things. I mean, personally, the best scenario is to look straight forward, but if you're darting your eyes to the right and left, it's not as bad as somebody who's swiveling their head. Now, I'm not saying you can't turn to look at things. Let's say you're walking through like a market store. There might be some lovely food or someone you know talking to you. You know, it would be strange to look straight ahead and pretend you haven't seen them. But when you turn your head slowly. Look at them gradually. You know, you guys know what I'm talking about. Those guys that are walking down the street or walking through a club, and every single woman in a short dress, they're swiveling their head to have a look. They're turning around to look at her ass. You know, this sort of behavior it's just not welcome, especially in this era. I just think whenever you watch a guy doing that, let's say you're walking behind a group of men and they keep swiveling, they keep turning, they're turning their heads. A girl walks past and they all go, wow, and turn around and look at her ass. It just looks so beta. And I know a lot of people hate the alpha and beta thing, but it's such an easy way to distinguish certain behaviors. It's like the 1 to 10 scale when I say a woman's a 10 or a 1. I actually hate doing it because I don't think we should give people labels like that. But when I do it, people understand the concepts. So, you know, why shouldn't we? But that's definitely a trait that you should deploy, guys, to turn slowly. If you're walking through crowded places, which we all do, we all walk through places like this, focus on your destination. If you see something you want to turn to or somebody talks to you, then turn very, very slowly to see them. Now, this moment here is something that you have to be careful of, okay? Now, I don't want you strolling down the road, walking into people and just barging them out of the way. You know, if there was women and children, especially not. If there's disabled people, move out the way, help them. You know, I promote all these behaviors. And if there's a group of people like this, I don't expect you to be able to just charge through the middle and just knock them all out the way. You know, they're not bowling balls and Skittles. But this is definitely something in the modern era that can be deployed on a minor scale. Now, you have to use logic to do this, but if there are, let's say there's somebody, 2-3 people walking your way, and they have space to move, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people try and test you or something, or there's enough space they could all move out the way, but maybe you have to step into the road in order to let 3 people walking in a line carry on down the path that they're on, and you have to step into the road to occupy that. Don't do that, guys. Look straight ahead, walk straight forward, do the slow stomp, like I said. And you're not literally stomping, but you know where it comes from, guys. A lot of it is the gym work and the clothes that you're wearing and how you feel about yourself, mindset and demeanor. Now, when those people are walking the other way, if they're not moving out the way, just keep walking forward. I guarantee if you give off that correct body language, they're moving out the way. You know, people shouldn't be that rude anyway. This is something that should be deployed in the modern era. Have a backbone, for God's sake. Have a backbone and think, why should I move out the way for you? Even if they're bigger than you, just keep doing what you're doing. You know, they shouldn't be walking in a line of 3 or 4 anyway. Just move out the way. If there's a crowd of people like this, try to deploy that. If they're walking towards you, try and deploy the same thing. You know, when I had this in Toronto a lot, when you're one side of the road on the traffic lights and there's 50 people on the other side. You see it in New York, in Asian parts of the world too. If you're walking across the road when the light goes green and there's like 50 people on your side, 50 on their side, walk tall, head up in the air, look straight ahead and keep walking straight. People will move out the way for you, and this looks unbelievable. Now, don't get me wrong, if there's like a child and somebody with crutches and whatever, move out the way, please, guys. Let's not be silly. People take everything that I say on here literally. Not most of you guys, but some people do. But what you should do is just judge each case based on merit, okay? But if there's just a normal group of people, then hold your head high, walk straight forward. You don't have to move out the way for anybody. You know, be that dominant figure in society. People will move. Most people are sheep. Most people are petrified. If you start doing these things, they will move. You see the way he didn't break stride as well, guys. Now, I know these people were actors and they're programmed to walk out the way. They're told to walk out the way. But the way he didn't break stride, he kept the same pace. You know, you can do this same thing, but if you keep stopping and then starting, you know, you might as well have walked around the person.
Let us pass. Move.
That was another little micro expression with the lip moving there. That was obviously he's controlling it. He's an actor, but that was that would be seen as uncontrollable. That's his crazy side again. And just as a note, he didn't actually look down there. He was looking at this guy. Okay. And we see it there, guys. Look at this. Look at the sheer size of this man, okay? So he's not particularly doing anything great here. He's actually looking down at someone else. But the way, like, look at the size of his frame in general, like thick set neck, thick set shoulders. His arms are simple. Look, they're by his side. They're tucked in. Somebody like a James Bond, when I've analyzed these videos before, James Bond's arms would go down like this and they would probably end about here. Okay, and it would be the same on the other side. Now, with Ragnar, what we've got is we've actually got his arms tucked in by his sides. You know, there's nothing special about this, okay? There's nothing particularly special. His feet are wide apart, I can tell, okay? They're wide apart down there. But the one thing that makes this so impressive is just the size of this frame. Just the structure and posture. Like, he doesn't have to be doing anything particularly alpha in nature, or he doesn't have to be doing anything particularly good in a body language sense. He's just a big guy, and it really makes a difference if that's the kind of body language that you're going for. It's congruent with his image. Now, if you're just going for a sophisticated man and you're in a suit, it might be different, okay? You might want to do different actions, but I'm telling you guys, when it comes to good body language, it doesn't necessarily have to be size. It helps enormously. But one of the things you have to do is get in the gym, improve your posture, because if your posture and muscle tone is good, it's going to hold your body in a better position and make you look better. So we can see here, we can really see evidently, okay, Hands tucked in, nothing special, nothing special. But what we can see in this part here, look, where this goes around, I imagine his arm is around about there, and it's away from the body, and we can clearly see a definition of pec there and there, okay, and his waist is there. This whole area for me is the area, okay, so let's get rid of all these lines, let's get rid of everything. It's this area here that I want to focus on, around about there, the way that everything is put together. This is natural, the way that his trap goes up, the shoulder comes out, the tricep here is pushing everything outwards. The muscle tone is keeping it at this angle. Okay, you see that, guys? That kind of angle. Muscle tone is doing that naturally. And it's away from his body. His hand is close to his body here because he's deliberately doing that. But his actual upper arm and shoulders, they're away from the body. They're pushing that way, which makes him look wider. And that is all gym work. That's exactly what's happening here. And it's, honestly, guys, just focus on this area here. This is a huge difference maker to his body language. And it just all comes from, yes, muscle size, but muscle tone especially. It gives you a fantastic shape and posture.
Hello, Ivar.
So again, we had the slow walk. Watch how gradual this is.
Hello, Ivar. There's no mistaking you. It appears my return is not welcome. You've obviously all made your mind up about me.
So what we're seeing here is two things. People are drawn to craziness. People are actually drawn to camp men as well, aggressive camp men where you don't actually know where they stand. It's actually an appealing trait. I've seen a lot of successful people kind of use the camp thing very, very well. And although you guys might say, no, he's aggressive, he's a man's man, he actually has camp elements which actually make him very, very intriguing. Because he's so masculine, I think this would actually be boring if he was just a straight up alpha male, masculine man. You know, I'll stab you, I'll punch you, I'll eat chicken straight off the bone. You know, if he was that sort of guy, it might actually be quite boring. The fact that he has elements of humor, craziness, and definitely camp elements to him, I think adds to the character and makes him a really interesting person. And this isn't congruent, okay? So, because it's not necessarily body language, it's personality. But I think that kind of blend of perfect body language, aggressive kind of appearance with the shaved head and the beard and the big build, but then, you know, he's got this personality trait that comes out. I think it makes him more than just one-dimensional. That's just a side note. But let's just take this back slightly.
It appears my return is not welcome. You've obviously all made...
There. Okay, I was trying to catch it. Sorry, guys. There's a slight impression here.
You've obviously all...
There. Okay, so he makes a lot of these movements where he does open hands, he leans back, you know, he's making himself bigger. And we can't actually see his hands here, but I know he's put them to the side because we can see that it's elevated down here. So a lot of his impressions of he's taking up as much space as possible with his hands when he's making these kind of actions with his body. We'll see it in plainer detail in a minute, but he takes up a ton of space, and it's so important to do this.
All made your mind up about me. I cannot blame you for that, no.
So I think if we take this back slightly here, when he says you've all made your mind up about me, and then look, he looks aggressive here. This is a great shot. Watch how much he changes. He softens up.
You've obviously all made your mind up about me.
He thinks about it here. He lets it go. He laughs. Okay, so that is high-level male thinking. To be in an aggressive mood, to be kind of pissed off, and then to be able to analyze it, think about it, forget about it, laugh it off, and move on, and be a little bit more relaxed about it. That's very, very high level. So many men would maybe lose their shit and start acting in a female manner where they start pointing fingers at people and saying, hey, what did you do? And asking the right questions. And it becomes a little bit bitchy. Whereas the way that he's just passed that off and just thought about it, laughed, and thought, you know what, I'm the king, I'm unaffected, it's water off a duck's back. We can see that in his facial expressions, the way he's gone from angry to normal to laughing.
Cannot blame you for that, man.
And the way he said, I cannot blame you for that, he's understanding their point of view. This is high level male behavior. Understanding that other people exist. I think they call it theory of mind. Appreciating that other people exist in the world. They're not going to think the same as you. They have different views. It's very good.
Sure.
There's another element of the craziness. Poking the chin out, the neck out. He just seems unstable at different times. It's quite fun to watch.
Oh, boys.
I think this scene is quite important too. The way right here, he's actually standing side on to this individual. He won't actually look them in the eye.
Oh, boy.
Look here, you're not worth my time or attention. That's what that kind of says. There's actually something in body language which says that you should never stand front on with a person because it seems like it's a confrontation. You should always stand at a slight angle so that they're looking at you and you're kind of looking away from them, but your shoulders are angled towards them. It's very strange. It's almost like a 45-degree angle, but I think that overthinks things quite a lot. I think wherever you end up to that person, you end up. But it definitely does give off an impression of, and I explain it here, their attention is on you, they're focused on you, you're the important one. Your whole demeanor and body language is actually facing the opposite way. It's facing over here, whereas they're focused on you. And I think it makes you look like the most important figure, and they're waiting to see your next move.
Boys. Who's gonna do it then?
You see, even when he's looking at him, so he was looking at him a second ago, just assume he still is, okay? The shoulders were still pointed in this direction, whereas this individual's shoulders are pointed here, which makes him the focal point. He's the main point of attention. They're vying for his attention. And there's some really strong eye contact for 2 or 3 seconds.
Who's gonna kill me? And I don't mind.
And there was a quick jerky behavior. That's nothing like the slowness that we saw earlier. That's the element of craziness that I think makes Ragnar so appealing.
Go ahead.
And now he's back to walking slowly.
Please. What about you, Victor? You think you're a man now? I dare you.
And there's more of those whispers that I told you guys about before, changing the emphasis, changing the kind of tonality that you have, the volume of how you speak, going loud, going aggressive, and then going down. It definitely draws people in. In terms of watching a series, yeah, it draws you into the person, the character, the series, etc. But in a modern era sense, if I'm going to translate this into your own lives, talking about something loudly and then putting emphasis on a certain word, something like that, it makes people really, really listen.
Puts me out of my misery.
See there, the slight campy behavior, aggressive with the eyes. So he's got his eyes darted on him, perfect eye contact. The way he's standing confrontationally front on this time, okay? So before he was side on, now this is confrontational, this is a face off, this is front on. Very aggressive, but the way that he moves in his actions, it's almost quite campy. And I think that blend of craziness just makes you think, I don't know what he's going to do next. And that's why the character is so appealing.
Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
There, we have it again. So we had do it in a relaxed manner. We had do it in quite a campy, goofy way. And then we had do it in a very... I don't know if that second one was campy, actually. That was more goofy. And then the third one was very, very aggressive, and he punched him in the stomach or hit him in the stomach. And it's that contrast between what he's doing. So the way I showed you guys before that he was congruent in his body language, gives off a certain impression. Now he's kind of all over the place. And this is the element of craziness that really does draw you into Ragnar.
Look at these people! They no longer support me! Look!
So there's another expression there. So the way he's saying as well, these people, he's referring to everybody as a group, showing that he's not afraid of the entire group. These people is very important, and he's kind of shadowing with his hand, he kind of swings it outwards to show all these people. Like, he doesn't care. He's kind of pointing towards them, all of them, saying, I don't really care what you think. Almost like that scene in, I think it's Hancock with Will Smith.
Look!
And then what we get is more of these wide open stances. Look at this, guys. As wide, I know the camera kind of cuts it off, but we can assume he's as wide as you can get. And if this were to zoom out, I imagine the figure that he's casting is probably like double the size of this guy here, okay? Or double anybody in the crowd. And his size definitely helps, but it's 100% the amount of space that he's taking up. You should do this more when you're making expressions. Is stop making kind of movements within yourself. Stop touching your stomach or touching your chest or your neck. Make your actions outside of the body. Make them external. So a lot of people will grab their neck. They might, scratch on their face. They might handle around their waist, their midsection, where the penis is, their stomach, the vulnerable areas. Make movements outside of the body. Make yourself look bigger.
Why would they? I am your leader, and I...
So there's more here. We can see it's kind of a blend of the kind of goofy, like I said. Sorry, that's the wrong tool. But he's making these wide open actions. There's plenty here. I won't catch them all because you'll get bored. But we've got it here. We've got the hand away from the body. He's leaning back. He's taking up as much space as possible here. And like I said, it's a little bit goofy, but the way that he's doing those kind of stompy actions, like I said earlier, where he's leaning back, the arms are going out wide, like he's not afraid. It doesn't necessarily matter what he's doing, but he's not afraid to just move his body around. You see people on the dance floor, okay? Somebody with no alcohol in them, they're going to be stiff. As soon as they have a few drinks, their arms are going everywhere, feet are going everywhere, the movements are a little bit more exaggerated. Well, that's confidence. So people that move more, whether you think he looks goofy here or not, people that kind of, and I'm not saying move more, like I said a second ago, but the way that they have more open body language, okay? The way that their actions are more exaggerated, the way that their arms are wider, the legs are set wider, they're taking up more space. These things display confidence because most people only do this when they're drunk.
I just left. What kind of leader does that? Huh?
And there was another one.
What kind of king abandons his people?
So this bit is very, very important. Watch this stomp, okay? So number one, he's slamming his arms down. They're very aggressive actions. It's almost gorilla-like. And he's slamming his fist down to the floor. He's shouting, everything's congruent. But watch the stomp. This definitely comes from his body shape.
What kind of leader does that? Huh? What kind of king?
Okay, so we're seeing the first movements there, but watch this.
Abandons his people!
That was a stomp. The way he's stomping around there, he's kind of like a long stepping. It's almost like a Euro step, if anybody's familiar with basketball. The way he's like taking a giant step right, one left, another one right. Like he's stomping around, taking up as much space as possible, surrounded by all these people, and he's moving around. I told you guys before in the Tommy Shelby one that when Tommy Shelby was in the circle with all of the guys, he made his way around the circle. He wasn't stuck in one spot. Now, that's like a gorilla taking up more space, patrolling around like a lion patrolling some space. This is exactly what he's doing. He's marching around. He's making that space his own, so people won't go into those areas. So my space is over there with my sons, but it's also over here with you people, and I can go wherever I want. You lot stand still. And now his demeanor has changed again, which adds to the craziness. The way he almost looks sad now. He looks solemn. He's gone soft, okay? But we can see there when he's walking, okay? Very, very slow walk, all right, guys? Let's go back a bit more. So he's got this very, very slow walk, but again, I have to draw attention to it. The size of this guy's kind of shoulders and arms. Now, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's a very big guy. You can see clear pec definition. You can see it again here. But like I said, guys, importantly, it's this area here. This area here is just thick. It's just thick set. It doesn't matter if you're 5'2". It's thick set. And what it does is it gives you this posture which goes outwards. It creates a shadow which is bigger. And then the tone here, because the muscle fibers, I believe, from Athlean X actually run in that direction. And they also, under the pec, they run in that direction. So once you do get on the weights and you make yourself bigger, these muscles, they kind of grow in the correct direction. And we can see here, look how wide that comes out. It comes right out to this point, and it's the same on the other side. Look, it comes all the way out to like kind of around about this point where this arrow is. This is just making him cast a larger figure than it normally would. And I cannot stress to you guys the importance of just getting in shape and just building a solid frame from the legs up.
What kind of father abandons his son?
So now he's talking very quietly. He was shouting a minute ago. Again, like I said, it's the craziness. It draws you in. Now, I don't know if this is just the way that he looks, but you can see how a lot of these guys... Let me take this back one slight second, okay? You see how wide-eyed he is here. The eyebrows are slightly elevated, the eyelids are up, like he's very wide-eyed. He's wondering what's going to happen next. It's a little boy kind of facial expression. Whereas if we look at Ragnar, now it might just be the way that he looks, but his eyebrows are down, his eyelids are down, he's got that piercing look. You know, he's set on what he knows what he wants. He's set on what he's going to do. He's focused. That's a focused look. Whereas the look that I showed you guys a second ago is way more submissive. Way more submissive. They reckon that women are really attracted to guys with squinty eyes. I think this is exactly why. But I definitely think it's something that you can do more. Now, I'm not saying purposely squint, but I'm saying don't make your eyes larger than they need to be in confrontations, talking to a woman. Exhibit A, okay? Here we go, guys. Life advice. You're walking around a corner, you're minding your own business. Maybe you're listening to music, you're thinking about what you're going to do that night. You walk around a tight corner so you can't see what's on the other side. 2 seconds later, a most beautiful woman walks around the other side of that corner, and the first thing that you do when you see her and she locks eyes on you is you raise your eyebrows up, your eyelids open up, and your mouth opens or something like that. It's like an uncontrollable expression. But ignoring the mouth, so many guys open their eyes widely, their eyebrows go up, and you're basically just saying, wow, I've never seen a woman like you, or I cannot believe what I've just seen. It's a rabbit in headlights. It's a very prey kind of look. You've got to be relaxed in those moments. Now, if you walk around the corner and you saw this woman and you held this look and you held eye contact with this woman for 2 or 3 seconds, she's probably going to be interested in you. If you stopped and started talking to her, she'll probably think, okay, this guy's serious. He's not some little boy that can't handle me. But if you walk around the corner and you look like this, you know, that kind of, if she kind of catches you looking like this, it's not too bad. I've seen guys definitely worse, where their eyebrows go up to like here, where they go, oh wow, who the hell is this? And this just, all the eye area looks even more open. But we can see the difference here between the two guys. If you look like this, you have less chance. And it's very submissive to have wide eyes, okay? Now, if you've got naturally wide eyes, like I said, it doesn't matter, guys. It's just don't let them change in certain scenarios. Don't walk around a corner and you see a beautiful woman, your eyes just light up and your eyebrows lift about fucking 4 inches. It just doesn't look good, okay? Now, that was slightly better from his other son. So many micro expressions here.
So who wants to be king? Do you know how this works?
I think that's important too, and I'm not saying you have to do this in the modern era, but if you ever see gorillas, there's some great videos on this on YouTube. I'll try and link you guys to them. It's how I got into body language. It was something to do with alpha males and beta males, and they looked at gorilla behavior. I watched this like 10 years ago now. I think it was on Discovery Channel. I'll try and link to them. They were fantastic. And The way that he throws the case for the sword onto the floor in front of people's feet, you know, he's taking up more space. And this is what gorillas do. They'll grab the food bucket and they'll empty it all over the floor and throw the bucket across the other side of the room and then patrol between the two to say, look, this is my space, don't you come near it. And that's very much what he's just done there.
If you want to be king, you must kill me.
And again, he's strutting around, he's going up to individuals. So he started over there with his sons, he strutted across to the people, he's now in somebody else's face. I'm not saying you should do this in real life, but I'm saying look at the space he's taking up, especially with his frame as he stomps around, the shaved head and the beard. That's very congruent. And again, he's stuck that in somebody's personal space. He's done it in a nice manner, but he's stuck it in somebody's personal space. And again, just to highlight it, this is coming away from the body more this time. I know he's offering this to this man, but look at the sheer size. Just this, again, this area here of just tone. It makes such a difference, guys. I know the clothes that he's wearing, this kind of robe cloth type material can make you look a lot wider. But the fact that he's taking up so much space just makes his body language look good when it isn't necessarily good. Like he's actually bowing his head here. Now he's doing it in a jokey sense, because he knows he is the top dog, but he's looking down, he's bowed his head. That's actually a sign of respect in the animal kingdom, especially in the chimp world. But the fact that he's done this should make him look submissive, but it doesn't because his frame's so big.
Take it. No?
See the difference, guys? Now this guy, I'm not saying skinny guys can't look masculine, definitely not. Body language can be fantastic, but this guy isn't actually stood too differently to Ragnar. The arms are away, you know, the clothing's different, but the arms are away, but it just doesn't cast this opposing figure. It doesn't, this guy's body language is pretty good. Look, even with the high cheekbones and everything, his eyes are set on Ragnar, his body language is pretty good, but I would still say Ragnar's is better just purely on size and muscle tone. I think it makes a huge difference. And like I said, you don't have to be the biggest guy in the world. Just work on muscle tone. Just have something where all the muscles are fused together.
You? No, what about you? No, no, anyone!
And that was a display of aggressive behavior as well, kind of laying the gauntlet down, like when people say step across this line.
Who wants to be king?
The emphasis there he put on who, I think that was fantastic from the director or the actor himself. And that was much quicker. The way that he's marched towards him there with the music, that was brilliant the way they've done that. But the way he's marched towards him there, it shows a clear differential in intentions, okay? He's walking a bit quicker. Things are about to happen. And next, look at the size of the frame as well, guys. I know I keep mentioning it. It seems like I'm in love with this man. Somebody's going to obviously comment that. But look at some of these figures as well in the background that are being cast by these females, okay? Arms tucked together. Hands in front of the midsection. Very submissive, actually, because they're actually crossing over one another. Look at that. That's very, very submissive. What we've got over here is hands behind the back from this woman. We've got arms crossed again from this woman. Now, watch the difference when Ragnar walks. See, look at this. See the difference here, guys? It's actually a fantastic scene to stop it on. So I'll highlight again. Hands there, hands down by her side. Arms crossed, arms crossed. You know, very submissive. Look, arms crossed, arms crossed. Here's the man, okay? With the strong body language. Very wide arms with the tone. You know, his biceps certainly help. Triceps certainly help too. A lot of guys don't train biceps enough, but it keeps this away from the body. We can see the pec definition here, that wide cast figure, the thick neck and the traps, okay, it gives him a massively wide figure. And the thing is, naturally, primitively, whatever women say, they will find this attractive because it just triggers something in the brain. And funnily enough, a lot of men will find this attractive, which is why it always works so well, okay? A lot of men will look at a woman like that and think damsel in distress, okay? She's, I don't want to say the word vulnerable, but submissive. A lot of guys are into that, you know? They see a woman with like a slight frame who looks submissive, they're all over it. And I'm not saying that's necessarily what women should do or necessarily what men should do. It's necessarily not 100% bang on, but There's something definitely primitive that we cannot fight that's in our brains, which makes women attracted to this and makes men attracted to this.
What about you, Sig?
So we got great eye contact here. The way he's got so close as well. He's a matter of yards, a matter of, I'd say maybe even centimeters away from this guy. He's very, very close with strong eye contact. Look at that.
Do you want to be king?
That there is a look of disappointment.
You want to be king, Upa?
This is slightly more aggressive. I think this is the oldest son, so he knows he's taking him more seriously. Sorry if you can hear the rain as well. It's really bad.
Kill me, and you are king. King!
Okay, so the eye contact has been fantastic, but now we've also got the hand on the back. So he's invading his private space. This is showing that he's the dominant figure. Especially as, I think if we bring this back, I just spotted this, Upa, it seems, has his hands behind his back.
King!
I think he does if we look here.
What are you waiting for?
Now again, I'm not saying you guys should do this, don't take these things literally, but the way he's put his hand on his shoulder first and Upa's got his hands behind his back, I think that's his name, and then he slapped him around the face twice, it's the ultimate invasion of somebody's privacy. That's what I said about Tommy Shelby on the other clip. Now, how can you use this in real life? Now, you can touch people on the back in the way that he did. Now, you have to be careful with the hashtag #MeToo stuff, but you know, you put your arm around a man's shoulder, show that you're the dominant one. You can tap them on the back, tap them on the shoulder, do a handshake, use the other hand to cup under their elbow. You know, there's little movements like this where you kind of say, your body is mine, I can touch where I want, within reason, don't be Kevin Spacey. But you can kind of move around. You know when like a dad grabs a son by the back of the neck and then rubs the back of his head or something. That's the ultimate dominant move. You know what I mean? It's little behaviors like this. Now don't be a dick, but there's little behaviors like this that can assert dominance. Now, I've seen this in photographs where there might be some guys at the back. Maybe there's 3 guys taking a photograph and the one in the middle puts their arms around the shoulders of the guys on the outside, and the guys on the outside will tuck their arms in and protect their penis. They'll kind of clasp their hands together. I see this in so many photos, and the guy in the middle just looks like the king. So watch out for moments like that as well, guys.
Are you afraid? Be a man.
There's the craziness. Okay, so he's changed his tone completely. But one thing I want to touch on is, like I said, there's elements, I said this at the start, there's elements of this kind of behavior and era that can be incorporated. The looking him in the eye and just saying, be a man, where is that gone? Like that added testosterone. I think there's moments where this is needed. Just say to somebody, come on, be a man. You know, I think it's got to that point where we're losing the inherent qualities that make us men, and I think sometimes bringing them back can just work wonders in so many senses of life. And there's his soft side again. It's a great contrast. Look at this walk, guys. Look at this walk. The way his arms are so wide. I think I might take this back just a slight clip. That might be the widest that we can get here, okay? But I don't have to draw the lines again, guys. You know what I'm looking at, okay? I've looked at the same thing since we started this. The way that he's cast that figure is fantastic. And if we take this back, watch the shoulder roll. I've talked about this before to you guys. The kind of walk and shoulder roll at a slow pace, and muscle tone is a massive reason for this. Size and muscle tone. A lot of big guys walk like this. But watch the slowness of movement and the shoulder roll with the big legs, because like I said at the start, the toe is pointing out diagonally, and that's what gives you that kind of rolling walk. It's almost GTA San Andreas, or GTA, I think it's San Andreas, isn't it? The way they used to walk on there, or Saints Row. It's very similar to that, but it's not as exaggerated. there. It's almost like a roll with the hands the hands are moving slightly, but they're kind of rolling as you walk. I guess you could coin it as swag, but it's more masculine swag. It's not like the kids would call it. It's a masculine version. I think it's because he is a proper man. Again, look at that. Look at that face, guys. You can see there the submissive look. The eyebrows are 100% up. Now, I didn't draw that first one correctly, but you can see yourself that they are 100% elevated. This whole area is exposed. Usually you can't see this area. It's exposed, it's lifted up. The eyelids are up. The pupils are dilated. Like, that's a very submissive look there. You wouldn't see that from Ragnar. The slowness of that turn there as well. Now, I'm not saying you have to turn this slowly, okay, guys, in public. But if, you know, maybe somebody isn't behind you, maybe somebody's on the left or right of you, that kind of speed would be fine. But just move slower. It looks so much better. Watch this. You know, if somebody's on the left of you and they've called your name and you move, maybe not at that pace, it just seems a little bit weird. But if you just move slowly, just say, you don't own my attention, I turn on my own time, it has a great effect. That was better. That was a much better walk. Maybe a bit too quick, but that was a much better walk compared to the body language he has shown so far. Small micro expression with the smirk. A lot of these top guys do smirks. They don't do open teeth smiles. They do slight smirks. And again, guys, we can see, look at these expressions, wide. Now it's the first time I get to see his feet. You see how they're pointed? They're pointed that way. They should be wider. I would actually have his foot planted about here and there. I'd make his gait even wider. But you can see, let's take this away for a second. Look at his toes. We can actually see that they're pointed outward. Look, there's his heel. So his foot must be pointed that way. There's his heel. So his foot, as we can see, is pointed that way. That kind of stance, and this is better. This is actually better. How wide his feet are. It's actually a good way to stand, okay? Takes up more space. This isn't very good. See how they're close together? It's not very good. It's very female-like. Female legs will come together like that. That's how they're able to cross them, because they don't have balls. They don't have testicles. But having your feet this wide apart is much better. If Ragnar's feet were like this, planted like this and pointed outwards, I would almost say that this is kind of perfect body language. Now, I can't imagine you're going to do this in public. So one thing that I would say is if Ragnar had these feet, okay, and they were planted and they were pointed outwards as his are, because these are pointed slightly forward. You can see that's not very good. They're pointed slightly forward. If he would angle these that way and that way, it would look a lot better. But then if he was just standing in public, his arms would be by his side. Like I was showing you guys earlier with the muscle tone, where it kind of just goes slightly by his side, but it goes outwards and casts a wide figure. That would almost be the perfect standing still stance. And so many guys are afraid to do this. They're on their own in public, and they'll look down at their phone, or they'll try and find something to do. Most people reach for their phone, okay? Most people are pussies. What I like to do is stand there, like I said, with these kind of feet, but pointed outwards. I like to stand upright, strong. I hit the gym a lot. I believe I've got pretty good build. And I like to have my arms not like this, but like I showed you guys earlier, by the side with good muscle tone. And I would just stand upright and I would just watch the world go by. And I'm confident enough to do that. Most men, once, let's say, their girlfriend or their friends go inside a store and they're waiting outside, they'll reach for their phone, they'll lean against the wall. These are submissive moves. It just shows that you're scared. It just shows that you're frightened of the world around you. You know, you need a surface behind you to protect your back. Enemies are coming from behind. And then you're not confident enough to show that you're on your own. What's wrong with being on your own? But so many people reach for their phone and look down. I don't like it at all, guys. So look at the slowness of movement here. And his eyes are just fixed the entire time. This is fantastic. So here, his body language isn't particularly good, but his sheer size is making it good. The reason it wasn't good as well, guys, just in case you were wondering, is because he's leaning for the sword. I know that is, and it makes it look like he's off balance, okay, or he's injured or something like that, so it doesn't look particularly good. But I know that's just for dramatic, it's the dramatic scene, like, is he going to reach for the sword or not? But what I'm saying is, because of his size, it makes it look good. And again, invading somebody's private spaces, 2 hands on the neck, but in an affectionate way. Sorry if you guys could hear that. It was just hailstoning. I just had to pause the clip. That was the weirdest thing. It just hailstoned for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. But what we got here is him pulling him in. He's embracing him. And if we take this back slightly. What we've got here is the ultimate embrace. So he's got one hand coming around the upper back, one hand around the back. You know, he's embodied his entire body. He's grabbed him as much as he could. That's a very masculine hug. You know, women, when they hug, they'll lean from a distance. You see women do this. They'll lean from like a meter away. They'll slightly cup each other, and then they might kiss on the cheek. This is an embrace. You know, he's saying, look, again, like I said, touching other people's bodies shows dominant behavior. And that's what he's done here. He's wrapped both hands around the back. He's dragged him in. He's kind of controlling what his body does next. There, the way he's pulled him in again. And we'll just end it here, guys. But again, look at the width. This makes such a difference. You can see here, just the figure that he's casting. It makes a giant difference, guys. And he's got neck tone. You know the jaw exercises that I showed you guys the other day around the neck area, the submental zone. Clearly see, although he's got a beard, it's pretty strong because his head is... Sorry, that was awful. His head is level, okay? So his chin is elevated. It's not... I know he's looking down here, but you don't want it kind of like that naturally. You don't want that kind of bent neck. I know he doesn't actually have it, but just as an example, because we can see it, just kind of that thing going on where your spine is sloping. You don't want that. You want a strong posture, and that's how you can look like this, like Ragnar. Okay, but that's the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. There was a lot more there. I think we're close to an hour. We've had hailstones, we've had torrential rain, we've had everything. It's been tough getting this video out, but I did everything I could for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you all soon.